Depending on the season, clouds are also responsible for catastrophes. As they develop at the end of the summer, they often trigger storms. And these storms, which are often difficult to predict, sometimes have dramatic consequences.
This bridge in Vilgaillac was unable to withstand the force of the flow. It has been sliced in two, and the emergency services have had to evacuate those affected, like this old lady, helicoptered in the other side of the river for treatment to her injured leg. In the village of Trèbes, entire neighborhoods are underwater. Vehicles have piled up, roads are impassable, and houses are destroyed.
We don't know what we're going to do. It's a disaster.
Why weren't we warned in advance? Why didn't they tell us to seek shelter? 2 million people around the world now live in flood zones and are threatened with the dangers of storms and high water. Storms have become an essential area of study for meteorologists. This year in France, an intrepid team is planning to travel right to the heart of these inhospitable masses. Using the meteorological research plane belonging to Météo France, the CNRS and the CNES, a team of around 30 storm hunters, are planning to study a phenomena that often occurs with storms, lightning. Lightning can happen at speeds of up to 20,000 kilometers per second. And measurements have revealed that the temperature within some of them can reach up to 30,000 degrees Celsius. These figures show what is waiting for Eric Defer and his team.
We want to understand how storms form and how lightning forms. More specifically, how it is triggered and why it is propagated, and why it is propagated over such great distances. Another objective is to look at how data relating to lightning can be assimilated into digital weather forecasting models, and how one day we can use this to improve our forecasting.
The arrival of storm episodes over the Mediterranean is the signal the storm hunters have been waiting for. Preparations for takeoff can begin.
These aren't our normal missions because usually, as pilots, we try to avoid storms, and here, they want us to go inside them. We try to go up as high as possible, above the anvil of the storm cloud, and then the raster radar, which is behind us, can study the vertical composition of the cloud, and in particular its water, snow, ice, and hail content. Our objective is to try to get as close as possible to the storm system, so we then descend through the cloud as low as we can, while ensuring the flight is still safe.
For 5 hours, the plane and its team of scientists pierces the clouds, aiming for the heart of the storm, and recording the electric fields that accompany each burst of lightning with the onboard equipment. At 8 p.m., they returned to the base at Solenzara for an immediate debriefing.
There are also things we didn't really understand.
An examination of the images captured by the camera on the plane's nose has a surprise in store for the scientists.
We're wondering if it wasn't us that triggered the lightning.
During the flight, in a fraction of a second, the plane is hit by lightning.
We can see very well here that the plane was flying at 8 kilometers of altitude, and the cloud is developing it up to 12.5 to 13 kilometers of altitude. So we can see that the electric field is increasing as the plane approaches the center of convection activity where the lightning occurs. In the end, for the general public, it's more about very short-term storm forecasting, about where a storm is going to be in 15 or 30 minutes' time, and what shape it will take. The idea behind the Etc. project is about providing additional information to what we already have, to refine the scenario we will be experiencing in the next 15 to 30 minutes.
In a few years' time, and thanks to lightning, meteorologists hope to be able to predict the location and strength of storms, not just to the nearest half hour, but a day before they occur. Meteorology is a race against the weather, and with the increase of such devastating phenomena, it's becoming more essential than ever.
We came running out. The hurricane was so violent, and it wasn't stopping, so we went outside.
I lost everything, how you can see. And all my neighbors lost everything. It's hard.
Well, life is tough. You know, you can't keep crying. You just have to step up and deal with what you have to deal with, because everybody is feeling it. The rich, the poor, everyone is under the same kind of crisis.
With every new catastrophe, the same questions arise. How can we plan the exact trajectory of hurricanes and predict how intense they will be? These phenomena occur almost every year. Every year since he moved to Martinique, meteorologist Jean-Noël Degrasse has seen a dozen tropical cyclones develop above the Atlantic. Along with his co-workers, he establishes the conditions for their formation off the coast of the African continent. When the ocean temperature goes above 28 degrees Celsius and the humidity intensifies, these turbulent phenomena sometimes turn into cyclones. On August 30th, 2017, Jean-Noël watched his 10th tropical cyclone of the year begin to form. Irma had all the characteristics of a major hurricane. The meteorologists were on the highest possible alert.
Hurricane Irma, rapid intensification, Category 2 hurricane. This will be a very dangerous storm and potentially could affect the Caribbean, the Lesser Antilles, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, potentially the East Coast, and the Gulf of Mexico or Florida. That's why we need to pay attention. So, heading into Sunday, Monday...
1 week before he arrived in the West Indies, the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts in Reading, the NOAA in the USA, and Météo France all confirmed that Irma was going to be big.
At that point, the question was whether it would continue to intensify. And according to our database, since 1950, there has never been a Category 5 hurricane that has hit a small island in the Lesser Antilles. So the message was, we don't want to announce a catastrophe, but this is something quite exceptional.
In the USA, the National Hurricane Center was also monitoring Irma very closely. Its incredible Hurricane Hunter airplane, capable of flying into the center of hurricanes, took off, heading for Irma.
And right now, I understand you're up above this storm, is that right?
Yes, sir. We're located around the eye of the storm, and what we're doing is we're dropping what we call dropsondes, and all of that data gets fed into computer models to help get a better forecast track. One of the things about this storm is not only is it extremely intense in the center, but it's growing in size.
By early September, as predicted by the meteorologists, the diameter of Irma had swelled to an incredible 500 kilometers. The hurricane was classed as Category 5, the highest level, with winds measuring 300 kilometers per hour. It was one of the most powerful ever measured above the Atlantic. Then Irma began to move towards the islands of St. Bartholomew and St. Martin. The red alert was sounded.
On a personal level, and I'd even say on a professional one too, this wasn't something to get excited about. You know, often meteorologists will say, wow, that's an amazing hurricane. Wow, that's okay when it's far away, when it's out at sea. But this one was a few dozen kilometers from an island, and we have friends there. And we've sent people there, willing people, journalists, people to take measurements. We were aware of all that, and so we were wondering if we'd done the right thing, whether we'd put people in danger. We were about to witness a humanitarian catastrophe. That's what we were thinking about at that point.
Despite the accuracy of the weather forecasts given by the models, the consequences of the passage of Hurricane Irma were indeed catastrophic. This hurricane, which also hit the Caribbean and Florida, resulted in 134 deaths, the destruction of thousands of buildings, and cost $65 billion. Monitoring meteorological phenomena, understanding where they will strike, warning populations about the most extreme events. The responsibility of forecasters are many.